Dr. Hyunwoo rubbed his tired eyes as he stared at the glowing screen in front of him. The research lab on Station Gamma 7 was quiet except for the soft hum of computers working through the night. As the lead scientist for weather studies across the galaxy, he had seen data from thousands of planets. But what he was looking at now made no sense at all. The computer kept beeping with warning sounds. Red lights flashed across his screen like angry fireflies. Every single alarm that could go off was going off. The system was telling him that something was very, very wrong with the weather readings from a small blue planet called Earth. This has to be broken, he said to himself, tapping the screen with one of his long, gray fingers. His people had 3 eyes, and all 3 were now focused on the numbers that seemed impossible. Wind speeds that jumped from calm to hurricane force in just a few hours. Temperatures that could change by 40 degrees in a single day. Rain that could be gentle drops one moment and chunks of ice the size of spaceships the next. Dr. Minji walked into the lab carrying 2 cups of hot caffeine. Her green skin looked tired and her pointed ears drooped slightly. She had been working late too, trying to make sense of other planetary data. But when she saw Hyunwoo's face, she knew something was wrong. "What is it?" she asked, setting down the cups and leaning over his shoulder to look at the screen. "Look at this," Hyunwoo said, pointing at the scrolling numbers. "The weather scanner says this planet has tornadoes that can rip apart buildings, followed by perfect calm skies just hours later. Lightning that strikes the ground thousands of times every hour. Storms that appear out of nowhere and disappear just as fast." Minji's middle eye blinked rapidly, which happened when she was confused. That cannot be right. No planet can have weather that changes so quickly and so violently. It would kill everything living on the surface. The data showed more impossible things. Hurricanes with winds strong enough to lift vehicles into the air. Blizzards that could bury entire cities in frozen water. Heat waves that could cook an egg on the ground, followed by cold snaps that could freeze water solid in minutes. "Run the test again," Minji suggested. "Maybe the long-distance scanners are damaged." Hyunwoo pressed several buttons, and the computer began checking all its systems. They waited for 10 minutes while the machine tested every part of itself. When it finished, a green light appeared on the screen. Everything was working perfectly. "The scanners are fine," Hyunwoo said slowly. "Which means these readings are real." Both scientists stared at the screen in silence. According to their equipment, Earth's weather was so violent and unpredictable that it should have destroyed all life on the planet long ago. The atmosphere seemed to be in a constant state of war with itself. "Maybe we should call Dr. Boram," Minji suggested. Boram was their expert on how weather worked on different planets. If anyone could explain this, it would be her. 20 minutes later, Dr. Boram arrived in the lab. She was shorter than the other 2, with blue skin and 4 arms that she used to work on multiple computers at once. When she saw the Earth weather data, all 4 of her hands stopped moving. "This is impossible," she said after reading through the numbers. "According to everything we know about weather, this planet should be dead. Look at this, they have something called Tornado Alley, where spinning storms happen so often that the creatures living there have built their homes underground." She pulled up more data on her personal screen. "And here, they have areas where it rains so hard that water floods entire valleys, washing away everything in its path. But then it stops raining for months and the same areas become dry as dust." "What about the lightning?" Hyunwoo asked. Boram shook her head. "The electrical activity is beyond anything I have ever seen. Some storms produce more electrical energy in 1 hour than our entire space station uses in a year. And it happens naturally without any technology causing it." The 3 scientists looked at each other. In all their years of studying planets across the galaxy, they had never encountered weather patterns like this. Most planets had gentle rains, mild winds, and temperatures that changed slowly with the seasons. Earth's weather seemed designed to kill anything that tried to live there. "There has to be an explanation," Minji said. "Maybe the planet is still forming? Maybe it is too young to have stable weather." Boram checked the planet's age. "No, it is over 4 billion years old. It should have settled into normal weather patterns long ago." "Then maybe something is controlling the weather artificially," Hyunwoo suggested. "Maybe there is an advanced species on the planet that is running some kind of experiment." This idea made more sense to them. The weather patterns were so extreme and so organized in their chaos that they seemed planned. No natural system could create such violent and precise atmospheric events. "We need to send a probe," Boram decided. "We need to get closer and see what is really happening on this planet." As they prepared their report for the Galactic Science Council, none of them could have imagined the truth. They were looking at weather patterns that were completely natural for Earth, and there was a species down there that had not only learned to live with this chaos, They had built their entire civilization around surviving it. The probe would be ready in 3 days. Until then, the mystery of Earth's impossible weather would keep them awake at night, wondering what kind of advanced beings could control such devastating forces of nature. 3 days felt like 3 years to Dr. Minji as she carefully guided their small probe ship through the dark space toward Earth. Her hands were shaking slightly as she controlled the ship from millions of miles away. The probe was invisible to most scanning systems, designed to watch planets without being seen. "We are entering the outer atmosphere now," she announced to her team back on the space station. Dr. Hyunwoo and Dr. Boram watched her every move on their screens, holding their breath. The probe's cameras turned on, and suddenly they could see Earth's weather with their own eyes. What they saw made all 3 scientists step back from their screens in shock. "That is not possible," Boram whispered, watching a massive storm system spin across the planet's surface. The storm was so big that it covered an area larger than most moons they had studied. But what scared them was how organized it looked. The hurricane was not spreading out like storms should. Instead, it was following a perfect spiral pattern, moving in a straight line across the land. As they watched, the storm destroyed everything in a narrow path but left areas just a few miles away completely untouched. "Look at the precision," Hyunwoo said, pointing at his screen. "It is like someone is drawing a line across the planet with the storm. Natural weather does not behave this way." Minji moved the probe to get a better view. What she saw next made her gasp. Dozens of smaller storms were spinning around the big one, like dancers following a choreographed routine. Each small storm stayed in its exact position, never bumping into the others, never breaking formation. "This has to be controlled by technology," she said. "There is no other explanation." The probe's instruments began measuring the storm's power. The numbers that appeared on their screens were terrifying. The winds were moving at over 200 miles per hour. The electrical activity was producing lightning strikes every few seconds. The storm was generating enough energy to power their entire space station for 100 years. But then something even stranger happened. As they watched, the massive storm system began to weaken. Within just 2 hours, the hurricane that had been destroying everything in its path simply disappeared. The skies became clear and calm as if nothing had happened. "Storms do not just vanish like that," Boram said, checking her instruments twice to make sure they were working. "It takes days for a storm that size to lose its energy naturally." Dr. Hyunwoo directed the probe to a different part of the planet. "Let us see if this is happening everywhere." What they found was even more disturbing. In one area they watched huge columns of spinning air form out of nowhere. These tornadoes appeared in empty fields, grew to enormous size in minutes, then disappeared just as quickly. It was like watching someone turn a switch on and off. "The tornadoes are following patterns too," Minji observed. "Look how they avoid certain areas completely but hit others multiple times." In another region, they watched as rain began falling so hard that it looked like someone was dumping oceans from the sky. The water came down with such force that it carved new rivers through the landscape in just hours. Then, without warning, the rain stopped completely and the sun came out. "The water cycles are impossible," Boram said, shaking her head. "You cannot have that much water appear and disappear so quickly. It violates basic laws of physics." The most frightening discovery came when they observed the lightning. Instead of random electrical discharges, the lightning was striking specific targets with mathematical precision. Some areas were hit hundreds of times, while others nearby were never touched at all. "It is like a weapon system," Hyunwoo said quietly. "The lightning is being aimed." They spent hours watching different parts of the planet, and everywhere they looked, the same impossible patterns repeated. Weather that should take weeks to develop was happening in hours. Storms that should spread across entire continents were staying in neat, organized formations. Temperature changes that should happen gradually over seasons were occurring in single days. "There has to be a control center somewhere," Minji concluded. "Some kind of advanced technology that is managing all of this." She directed the probe to scan for artificial structures that might be controlling the weather. They looked for giant machines, energy signatures or communication signals that might explain what they were seeing. But they found nothing. No weather control stations. No massive computers. No energy sources powerful enough to manage planetary weather systems. Instead, they found something that confused them even more. "There are cities down there," Boram said, staring at her screen. "Millions of structures where living beings must live." "That is impossible," Hyunwoo replied. "No intelligent species could survive in weather this violent. They would have been destroyed long ago." Yet the evidence was right in front of them. Cities filled with buildings. Roads connecting different areas. Signs of advanced civilization. But how could any species live through the weather chaos they had been watching? Maybe they live underground, Minji suggested. Maybe they only come to the surface when the weather controllers turn off the storms. This seemed like the only logical explanation. There had to be an advanced species on Earth that had developed incredible weather control technology. They were probably running some kind of massive experiment, testing how much atmospheric chaos they could create and control. The three scientists prepared their report with growing excitement and fear. They had discovered the most advanced weather manipulation system ever found in the galaxy. But they also worried about what kind of beings could create such powerful and destructive technology. We need to recommend extreme caution, Hyunwoo said as they finished their observations. Any species that can control weather this precisely and this violently could be very dangerous to contact. None of them could have guessed the truth, that there was no weather control system at all, and that the beings living on Earth had simply learned to survive in the most chaotic natural weather patterns in the known galaxy. Dr. Jaemin had been studying alien species for 20 years, but he had never been as excited as he was now. For the past week, he had been watching the intelligent beings that lived on Earth, trying to understand their amazing weather control technology. What he discovered instead made him question everything he thought he knew about survival. I cannot find their weather machines, he told Dr. Hyunwoo over the communication system. Jaemin was using the probe's powerful cameras to look closely at Earth's cities and towns. I have scanned every major population center. There are no weather control stations anywhere. Dr. Minji joined the conversation from her workstation. Maybe the machines are hidden underground or in space around the planet? I checked, Jaemin replied, pulling up his scan results. No hidden bases. No orbital weather platforms. No energy signatures that would indicate massive atmospheric manipulation systems. Their technology is actually quite simple compared to ours. This news puzzled the entire team. If the humans were not controlling the weather, then how were they surviving it? Dr. Boram decided to focus the probe on one human city during a storm. What she saw amazed her. Look at this, she called to the others. There is a massive tornado approaching their settlement, and the humans are not running away. On the screen, they watched as the spinning column of air moved toward a human town. But instead of panic, the humans seemed to know exactly what to do. Some went into underground shelters. Others moved to specially built rooms in the center of their houses. Many simply watched the tornado from safe distances, pointing strange devices at it. They are measuring the tornado, Jaemin observed. They have people whose job is to study these storms as they happen. That is insane, Minji said. No intelligent species gets that close to deadly weather on purpose. But the humans did more than just measure the storms. They had built their entire society around them. The alien scientists watched as human farmers planned their crops around seasonal floods. They saw human builders design houses that could bend with strong winds instead of breaking. They observed human communities that could evacuate entire cities in just a few hours when big storms approached. Look at their communication systems, Boram pointed out. They have a whole network dedicated to tracking weather patterns and warning each other about dangerous conditions. The humans had developed an entire science around predicting their chaotic weather. They called their weather experts meteorologists, and these people spent their lives studying storm patterns, temperature changes, and wind movements. The humans had learned to read the signs of approaching weather disasters days or even weeks in advance. This is incredible, Jaemin said, watching human meteorologists on their communication networks. They can predict when and where tornadoes will form. They know which areas will flood during heavy rains. They can tell when dangerous ice storms are coming. But the most amazing discovery came when they watched how humans dealt with the worst weather events. During a massive hurricane, the alien scientists expected to see death and destruction. Instead, they saw something that defied belief. The humans had created systems to survive hurricanes that would destroy most galactic civilizations. They had buildings designed to withstand winds over 150 miles per hour. They had stockpiled food, water, and medical supplies in advance. They had evacuation routes planned and practiced. Most incredibly, they had groups of people who actually flew aircraft into the storms to study them. They fly into hurricanes, Minji said in disbelief. On purpose. To collect scientific data. And look at this, Boram added, showing footage of humans in a blizzard. They have developed special clothing and vehicles to travel through ice storms that would kill most species in minutes. The humans had not just learned to survive their planet's violent weather, they had turned survival into an art form. They had sports that involved moving through snow and ice. They had festivals celebrating different seasons and weather patterns. They had music and stories about storms, floods, and other weather events. They actually enjoy some of their dangerous weather, Jamin observed, watching humans play in snow and swim in rough ocean waves. They have turned surviving into entertainment. Dr. Hyun-woo studied the data his team was collecting. The more they learned about humans, the more worried he became. If they can survive weather this extreme naturally without any technological assistance, then what does that say about their species? The answer became clear as they continued their observations. Humans were not using advanced technology to control their planet's weather. They were using advanced adaptation to live with weather that should have killed them long ago. Every aspect of human civilization showed signs of a species that had been shaped by constant environmental challenges. Their architecture was designed for flexibility and strength. Their agriculture worked around unpredictable growing conditions. Their transportation systems could function in multiple types of severe weather. Their medical knowledge included treating injuries from lightning strikes, tornado damage, flood accidents, and extreme temperature exposure. They have emergency response teams for every type of weather disaster, Boram reported. Groups trained specifically to rescue people from floods, avalanches, tornadoes, and hurricanes. They have hospitals prepared for treating weather-related injuries. They have backup systems for when storms destroy their normal infrastructure. Most frightening of all, the humans seem to consider this normal. Children grew up learning how to recognize dangerous weather signs. Families practiced emergency procedures for different types of storms. Communities worked together to prepare for seasonal weather challenges. They do not see their weather as unusually dangerous, Jamin realized. To them, this is just how planets work. The implications hit all three scientists at once. If humans thought Earth's impossibly violent weather was normal, then they had evolved on a world so challenging that it had created a species capable of adapting to almost any environment in the galaxy. Dr. Sung-ho had been the director of planetary sciences for the Galactic Scientific Consortium for 15 years. In all that time he had never called an emergency meeting. But the report sitting on his desk about Earth's weather patterns had kept him awake for 3 straight nights. The meeting room was packed with the galaxy's top scientists. Representatives from 12 different species sat around the large circular table, their various eyes, tentacles, and sensory organs all focused on the holographic display showing Earth's atmospheric data. Let me understand this correctly, Dr. Sung-ho said, his voice careful and measured. You are telling us that the weather patterns we observed on Earth are completely natural? Dr. Hyun-woo stood at the front of the room looking nervous. Behind him, the display showed video footage of massive hurricanes, violent tornadoes, and lightning storms that lit up entire continents. Yes, sir, Hyun-woo replied. After extensive investigation, we found no evidence of weather control technology. The humans living on Earth have no machines capable of creating or controlling these atmospheric conditions. Dr. Vextar, a scientist from the Rigel system, raised one of his 4 arms. That is impossible. No planet can naturally produce weather this violent and still support intelligent life. We thought the same thing, Dr. Minji said, joining Hyun-woo at the front. But our observations prove otherwise. The humans have adapted to live with this weather. They have built their entire civilization around surviving it. The room erupted in nervous chatter. Scientists whispered to each other in a dozen different languages, their voices filled with confusion and disbelief. Dr. Eun-ji, the consortium's senior expert on how planets work, had spent the last week running computer simulations of Earth's weather systems. She stood up slowly, her green skin pale with worry. I have tested every atmospheric model we have, she announced. According to our understanding of planetary physics, Earth's weather should not exist. The energy requirements alone should tear the planet apart. She activated her own holographic display, showing complex mathematical equations and planetary models. Earth has a molten metal core that creates massive magnetic fields. It has an extreme axial tilt that causes dramatic seasonal changes. It has a moon so large that it creates powerful tidal forces affecting the atmosphere. The atmospheric composition creates both greenhouse heating and heat dissipation at the same time. What does that mean? Asked Dr. Keloth from the Andromeda sector. It means Earth is like a machine designed specifically to create the most challenging weather conditions possible, Eun-ji explained. Every single factor that contributes to stable weather on other planets is deliberately unstable on Earth. Dr. Boram stepped forward with her own data. The temperature differences between Earth's equator and poles create massive air movements. The planet's rotation speed affects storm formation in ways we have never seen before. The interaction between land masses and oceans produces weather patterns that change daily, sometimes hourly. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. For thousands of years, galactic scientists had classified planets as habitable or uninhabitable based on stable weather patterns. Earth was challenging everything they thought they knew. If these weather conditions are natural, Dr. Sung-ho said slowly, then what does that say about the species that evolved there? Dr. Jae-min had been studying human behavior for weeks. His answer sent a chill through the room. It means they have evolved to survive conditions that would kill most of us within hours. They are not just adapted to extreme weather, they have been forged by it. He showed video footage of humans going about their daily lives while storms raged around them. They can predict weather changes days in advance without computer assistance. They can survive temperature swings that would put most species into shock. They have developed technology and social structures specifically designed to handle constant environmental challenges. But how is this possible? Dr. Vextar asked. Our models show that intelligent life requires stable environmental conditions to develop advanced civilization. Our models are wrong, Unji said quietly. Earth proves that intelligence can develop under extreme conditions. In fact, it suggests that extreme conditions might create stronger, more adaptable species. The scientists looked at each other with growing alarm. If Earth's weather was natural, then humanity represented something unprecedented in galactic history, a species that had evolved in conditions so challenging that they could potentially survive anywhere. Dr. Sung-ho pulled up the galactic database of habitable worlds. Run a compatibility analysis, he ordered. Show us how many known habitable planets humans could theoretically survive on. The computer worked for several minutes, comparing Earth's extreme conditions to the environmental data from thousands of other worlds. When the results appeared, the room gasped collectively. 94%, the computer announced. Humans could theoretically survive on 94% of known habitable worlds without significant technological assistance. And how many species from other worlds could survive on Earth? Sung-ho asked, though he already suspected the answer. Less than 3% of known species could survive Earth's natural conditions for more than one planetary rotation, the computer replied. The meeting room erupted in panicked discussions. Representatives from different species began calculating what this meant for galactic relations. If humans ever developed space travel technology, they would be able to colonize planets that other species could not even visit. We need to reclassify Earth immediately, Dr. Sung-ho announced, calling for order. This is no longer just an unusual weather phenomenon. We are looking at a planetary environment that has produced a species with survival capabilities beyond anything in our databases. What should we classify it as? Asked Dr. Minji. Dr. Sung-ho looked at the data one more time, then at the worried faces of the galaxy's top scientists. Classify Earth as a high-intensity survival training environment. And classify humanity as a species of extreme adaptability and unknown potential. The implications were terrifying. Somewhere in the galaxy, nature had created the perfect forge for an unstoppable species, and none of them had realized it until now. 6 months had passed since the emergency meeting, and Dr. Hyun-woo still felt nervous as he walked into the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Scientific Consortium. Representatives from over 50 different species filled the massive chamber, their various forms creating a sea of colors, shapes, and sizes that would have amazed any human observer. Today he would deliver the final report about Earth and its inhabitants. The report that would change how the galaxy viewed planetary habitability forever. Dr. Sung-ho called for silence as Hyun-woo approached the speaking platform. The hall grew quiet, with only the soft sounds of different species breathing, clicking, and humming in their natural rhythms. Honored representatives, Hyun-woo began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's translation systems. After extensive study, we have reached our final conclusions about the planet Earth and its dominant species, humans. He activated the holographic display, showing Earth spinning slowly in the center of the hall. The beautiful blue and white planet looked peaceful from space, giving no hint of the chaos happening on its surface. Earth's atmospheric conditions are not controlled by advanced technology, he announced. They represent the natural state of a world operating at the absolute extremes of what planetary physics allows. A ripple of nervous sounds passed through the assembly. Many representatives had hoped the final report would reveal some kind of weather control system that could explain Earth's impossible conditions. Dr. Minji joined him on the platform. The planet's weather patterns result from a combination of factors that should not exist together on any single world. Yet they do exist, and they work together to create a perpetual state of controlled atmospheric chaos. The display changed to show Earth's internal structure. The planet has a molten iron core twice the size of most habitable worlds, Minji continued. This creates magnetic fields so powerful they affect atmospheric behavior on a daily basis. The planet's rotation speed, combined with its unusual moon, creates tidal forces that influence weather patterns across the entire globe. The axial tilt causes extreme seasonal variations, Hyun-woo added. Temperature differences of up to 60 degrees between seasons in some areas. This creates massive air movements that generate storms of incredible power and unpredictability. Dr. Ji-hoon, their chief expert on alien biology, stepped forward to address the most important question. But what about the humans who live there? The assembly leaned forward, eager to hear about the species that had somehow survived in such impossible conditions. Humans are not victims of their planet's extreme weather, Jae-min announced from his position near the display controls. They are the product of it. They have been shaped by 4 billion years of evolutionary pressure from the most challenging natural environment we have ever studied. The holographic display changed to show footage of humans dealing with various weather disasters. The assembled representatives watched in fascination and growing fear as they saw humans evacuating from hurricanes, taking shelter from tornadoes, and working in conditions that would kill most galactic species. Observe their response times, Jae-min pointed out. Humans can organize the evacuation of entire cities in less than 1 day. They can predict dangerous weather patterns weeks in advance using only basic technology. They have developed survival instincts that allow them to recognize life-threatening atmospheric changes by simple observation. Their technology reflects their environment, Dr. Boram added, showing images of human architecture. Their buildings are designed to flex and bend rather than break. Their transportation systems function in weather conditions that would ground our most advanced vehicles. Their communication networks remain operational during atmospheric events that would destroy most galactic infrastructure. The most disturbing revelation came when Dr. Eun-ji presented her comparative analysis. We have tested human survival capabilities against every known habitable environment in our database. The results are unprecedented. Numbers appeared in the holographic display that made several representatives gasp audibly. Humans can survive on 94% of all known habitable worlds without technological assistance. Most galactic species can survive on Earth for less than 1 planetary rotation. But that is not the most concerning discovery, Hyun-woo said, his voice growing serious. The most concerning discovery is that humans consider Earth's weather patterns to be normal. This statement created an uproar in the assembly. Representatives whispered urgently to each other, their concern growing by the minute. Humans do not see their planet as unusually dangerous, Minji explained. They have no concept that other worlds might have stable, predictable weather. To them, surviving hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards, and floods is simply part of daily life. What does this mean for galactic relations? Asked Ambassador Trell9 from the Centauri delegation. Dr. Sung-ho stood to answer. It means that somewhere in our galaxy, nature has created a species with survival capabilities that exceed anything we have ever encountered. Humans are not just adapted to extreme conditions, they require them to feel at home. The implications hung heavy in the air. If humans ever developed space travel technology, they would be able to colonize worlds that other species considered uninhabitable. They could potentially survive in environments that would serve as perfect natural fortresses against other galactic civilizations. Our recommendation, Hyun-woo concluded, is to reclassify Earth not as an inhabited world with unusual weather, but as a training ground that has produced the most formidable survival-adapted species in galactic history. The final slide appeared showing Earth's new classification, High-Intensity Evolutionary Pressure Environment Species Designation, Extreme Survival Specialists, Threat Level, Unknown. As the assembly sat in stunned silence, Dr. Sung-ho made the announcement that would reshape galactic policy for generations to come. Until we better understand their capabilities and intentions, Earth and its human inhabitants are to be classified as a phenomenon requiring careful observation and extreme caution. We have discovered a species that evolution has specifically designed to survive anywhere in the galaxy. The meeting ended with a sobering realization. The galaxy's most dangerous species might not be one with advanced weapons or superior technology, but one that had been forged by a planet so challenging that survival itself had become their greatest strength.